Hello there. In October 1988, a middle-aged woman rushed to the police station with two panicked audio tapes in hand. Her name was Chen Guimei, 41 years old, and she came to report that her daughter had been murdered, submitting the two tapes as evidence. The tapes recorded Chen Guimei questioning her two grandchildren about her daughter's whereabouts, and unexpectedly, her young grandson said that his mother would never return because she was lying in 3 bags. This information sent shivers down the spines of all the police officers present. But this case was not as straightforward as you might think. Her daughter's name was Wu Tui Van. In 1983, when she was just 19 years old, she defied her parents' objections and decided to marry Dieu Zheng Yuan, a man who was poor but very kind-hearted. It seemed like their passionate love would pave the way for the couple to overcome difficulties and have a better future, but the events of the next 5 years completely extinguished their hopes. Both husband and wife had unstable jobs. Wu Tui Van earned a living through part-time work and took care of their 2 young children at home. Although Chen Guimei disliked her son-in-law, her love for her grandchildren was so great that she often visited to help her daughter's family, and occasionally, the couple would also bring the children home for dinner with their parents. In early 1988, Dieu Zheng Yuan got a sailor job through a friend's recommendation, a well-paying but challenging job. Consequently, he often had to be away from home for long periods before returning, meaning he also had to endure loneliness, isolation, and missing his wife and children while working at sea. However, because this job provided the main source of income for the family, both husband and wife were very satisfied with it. Moreover, having a stable job also earned Dieu Zheng Yuan the respect and trust of his in-laws. On July 12, 1988, when Dieu Zheng Yuan returned from abroad, Chen Guimei decided to invite her daughter's family for dinner. She had already prepared a sumptuous meal and eagerly awaited everyone's arrival. However, no one showed up, no matter how long she waited. After waiting for too long, Chen Guimei knew for sure that something was wrong with her daughter and son-in-law, so she called her granddaughter to inquire about the situation. The girl said that her parents were arguing, so they didn't come to Grandma's house for dinner. After that, the girl hung up without saying anything else. 2 days later, Chen Guimei's daughter suddenly called to ask for a loan of about 7 million dong to help with the family's expenses. Although Chen Guimei was very angry at her son-in-law because her daughter asked to borrow money, she could only agree. However, she did not expect that this would be the last time she would see her daughter. After waiting for several days without her daughter coming to collect the money, Chen Guimei tried to call her daughter many times, but could not get through. Then, after a while, her son-in-law called to inform her that they were about to move to a new house and hadn't had time to install the telephone line, so it might not be convenient to contact her. After speaking, he quickly hung up. Chen Guimei was very suspicious of this because her daughter had never mentioned moving, and their sudden move was very unusual. Waiting for another 10 days, Dieu Zheng Yuan finally called again. Chen Guimei immediately asked about her daughter's whereabouts, but she did not expect him to coldly say that when they had an argument a few days ago, Wu Tui Van was so angry that she left home right after. Chen Guimei felt very uncomfortable about this because her daughter used to call her frequently, and even when she argued with her husband, she had never stopped contacting Mrs. for so long. So she immediately suggested her son-in-law report it to the police, but Dieu Zheng Yuan claimed that he had already reported the incident and was awaiting a response from the police. Chen Guimei tried for another 3 months, but still received no news about her daughter, as if she had completely disappeared from the world. Finally, on October 4th, Chen Guimei couldn't sit still anymore. She called Dieu Zheng Yuan and said that she missed her 2 grandchildren, so she asked him to bring them over for dinner. That evening, while her son-in-law was sitting drinking with her husband, she took her 2 grandchildren aside to inquire about their mother's situation. The 2 children, looking bewildered, told their grandmother that during the argument, their father made their mother kneel down and hit her with a belt. Then the next morning, their father told them that their mother had left them for another man. At that moment, Chen Guimei became even more convinced that her daughter was in trouble. She quickly took out the tape recorder to have her grandson repeat what he said and kept it as evidence. Early the next morning, she hurried to the police station to report all the incidents and submitted the audio tape. In the 1980s, security in Taiwan was chaotic. There were many unsolved criminal cases, so this brutal and clear-cut case was a good opportunity for the police to establish credibility. Therefore, they quickly focused on capturing the perpetrator. The police knew that Dieu Zhengyuan would pick up his children at the kindergarten every day, so they waited there in ambush and successfully arrested him. At the same time, they also contacted various media outlets to provide direct information about the case to gain the public's trust. But what no one expected was that Dieu Zhengyuan's interrogation did not go smoothly, and the case had many suspicious aspects. Dieu Zhengyuan appeared completely confused about being suspected of killing his wife and dismembering her. He vehemently shouted that he was innocent and begged everyone to help find the truth. Dieu Zhengyuan claimed that he and his wife had argued on the 16th because she proposed a divorce, but he disagreed. After that, his wife left home and disappeared for several months. He truly didn't know where she had gone and couldn't understand why his children could say such things. He cried a lot and repeatedly expressed his anguish over this matter, worrying that his children would suffer without their mother's love. Because they couldn't investigate anything further from Dieu Zhengyuan, the police decided to go to Wu Tuivan's workplace to inquire. But unexpectedly, neither Dieu Zhengyuan nor his family knew where she worked. They only knew that Wu Tuivan was a housewife and took care of the children at home. She had mentioned working the night shift at an electronics factory, but she had never disclosed which factory or where it was located. Although Dieu Zhengyuan was the primary suspect in this disappearance case, without any other concrete evidence proving that he had committed the murder, the case once again fell into a deadlock. In desperation, the police had to rely on the testimony of the children. They believed that the innocent children could not make up such horrifying statements on their own. Surely they had seen something. When the police took the two children to the crime scene, they described in great detail every aspect of the incident, including the type of knife their father used, how he dismembered their mother and put her body into a bag, and even how he cleaned up the bloodstains there. If what the children said was true, there had to be evidence at the scene, such as a large amount of blood on the ground. However, after the police used all identification methods, they only found a small amount of blood on the ground, and the murder weapon mentioned by the children was nowhere to be found. The children then continued to recount that afterward, their father drove them to a deserted field, left them in the car, and went down to dig a large hole, burying the bag containing their mother's body underneath. The police were very surprised and couldn't believe that such young children could accurately describe the location of the body's disposal. Everyone was astonished and felt confident that the truth would soon be revealed. Analyzing the burial site mentioned by the children to be in Youth Park, the police quickly went there and dug through the ground for hours. However, the result was futile as they found nothing, not even a single hair, let alone any piece of someone's remains. Now everyone across the country shared the same question. Can the testimony of such a young child be reliable? Do they really understand concepts like murder, dismemberment, and burial? Some even argued that the police shouldn't have brought such a young child back to the crime scene because if the children truly witnessed the tragedy, it would surely leave them with significant psychological trauma. With no progress in the case, the direction of the investigation was fading and public trust in the police was diminishing. However, fortunately, a crucial lead finally emerged. New information from the tenant at Dieu Zhengyuan's former residence, named Liao Guoyong, stated that when he first moved in, he found a bag of clothes with small bloodstains on the bed and a piece of rotting meat full of maggots. But he didn't think much of it and simply threw it away. Now, upon hearing this news and reflecting, he feared it was the body of Wu Tuivan. Not only that, he also mentioned that he had dreamed of a headless woman covered in blood, silently staring at him from a distance without saying a word. Because of these statements, the police quickly went to the old residence to thoroughly search, but once again, they found no bloodstains. The police tried to sift through the landfill for 3 consecutive days to find any decaying remains, but ultimately found nothing. Similarly to Liao Guoyong, Chen Guimei revealed that she had also dreamed of her daughter wearing a red dress and saying to her, "Mom, save me, I'm so cold, Mom." So she speculated that her daughter must have been thrown into a place with water, but no matter how hard they searched, the police still didn't know the exact whereabouts of Wu Tui Van. Not long after, a major breakthrough occurred. After tracing Wu Tui Van's records, the police discovered that she didn't work in an electronics factory, but in a special industry. The police immediately took Wu Tui Van's photo to inquire with her colleagues at her workplace, and the results surprised them because Wu Tui Van was indeed an employee there. The accountant said she had just come to collect her salary a few days ago, but then she quit, and they didn't know where she had gone. A colleague who was closer to Wu Tui Van also said they had dinner together a few days ago. This was strange because if that was the case, then Wu Tui Van wasn't dead, so why would her children say such things? A few days later, the police received a call that made them very excited from a colleague of Wu Tui Van, informing them that Wu Tui Van had just contacted her and promised to call back tomorrow. Upon hearing this, the police went to the colleague's house and installed tracking devices, then began to wait. Waiting from morning until 9 p.m. Finally, the call from Wu Tui Van came. The colleague asked her, "Why aren't you going to work anymore?" "I have some issues I can't talk about." "Where are you?" "I'm in Kaohsiung." She immediately hung up the phone and said nothing more. Was the person on the other end of the line really Wu Tui Van? If it was indeed her, then the testimonies of the 2 children must be something to consider. Indeed, the police, after careful examination and analysis of the children's testimonies, found many inconsistencies. For instance, if the children had truly witnessed the father killing the mother, it would have been a horrific scene that they couldn't calmly describe in such detail. Moreover, no matter how intense the arguments between the couple were, it would be unlikely for them to kill each other in front of their children. Therefore, the police suspected that someone had coached the children to lie. Subsequently, the police informed Chen Guimei and brought her 2 grandsons to the scene. They discovered that the children had seen their grandmother first during questioning, so the police brought Chen Guimei and the children back to the police station. They began to separate the children from their grandmother and gently asked them if they really saw their father killing their mother. Did someone teach them to say those things? To everyone's surprise, this time the answers from the 2 children were completely different. They blurted out that it was their grandmother who had taught them how to describe the killing process in detail, including dismemberment and hiding the body. Finally, after thorough investigation and based on the existing evidence, the judge decided to acquit Dieu Zhengyuan. During police interrogation, Chen Guimei kept shouting and denying that she had coached her grandson to lie. She said that she herself was deceived by the children, otherwise, how could she organize a funeral for her daughter? This wasn't the first time Wu Tui Van had disappeared for so long. 2 or 3 years ago, Chen Guimei had publicly accused Dieu Zhengyuan of killing her daughter in this manner. Although Dieu Zhengyuan was acquitted, because there was no news of Wu Tui Van, many still believed that he had killed his wife. But if Wu Tui Van was still alive, why had she never shown up? Once their daughter had an accident and had to stay in a special care room, so investigators took advantage of this opportunity to spread the news through the media in hopes that Wu Tui Van would come back to see her daughter after seeing the news. However, no one expected that even when their daughter recovered and was discharged, the whereabouts of Wu Tui Van remained a big mystery. Although Chen Guimei was suspected of coaching her grandson to lie, she never stopped her efforts to search for her daughter over the years. She even offered a reward of up to 50,000 yuan for anyone who could find Wu Tui Van. In 1991, she even spent a lot of money to find a famous goddess to help find her daughter's remains. This goddess told her that Wu Tuivan's remains were under Zhongjihing Bridge. Overjoyed, Chen Guimei immediately went to the police, hoping they could help her dig it up. The police, having no leads and wanting to solve the case as soon as possible, immediately sent a team to dig up the body under the bridge. This time, they did find a skeleton. Unfortunately, after forensic examination, it turned out to be just a pig's skeleton. Whether these things were set up by the goddess to deceive Chen Guimei for money or not depends on each person's perspective, but no matter what, Chen Guimei had spent millions searching for her daughter's whereabouts. It wasn't until February 1993, when everyone thought Wu Tuivan had probably died, that she suddenly appeared with a man by her side, and they had a child together. This time it was because she wanted to register the birth certificate for the child, so she reluctantly had to contact her family. Wu Tuivan's case was quite shocking at the time, but little did people know that her own mother was the real central figure in the case. It turned out Wu Tuivan had an unhappy relationship with her husband for a long time. They often quarreled, and she had filed for divorce, but Jie Zhengyuan disagreed, so she decided to leave her husband and 2 young children. She then met her current boyfriend while working at a cafe and started dating him under a different name, Liu Shui Lian. Since they got along so well, Wu Tuivan didn't want her boyfriend to know about her past. Therefore, even during the years when her mother was desperately searching for her daughter, and even after her daughter's car accident, which couldn't move her, she never appeared. Now, many years had passed, and her child with her new lover needed to register for a birth certificate, so she had to return to her old house, thinking that no one would remember a little person like her after so long. However, her thinking was completely wrong. As soon as Wu Tuivan appeared, everyone immediately recognized her and reported her to the police. They quickly arrested Wu Tuivan and took her to the station for questioning. The police then accused Chen Guimei of coaching the children to lie, but the court ruled that since she had spent a lot of time and effort searching for her daughter out of eagerness to find her, she was acquitted. Jie Zhengyuan, who had faced a lot of public pressure for 5 years, filed a complaint against his ex-wife for her misconduct and unethical behavior. Throughout that process, Wu Tuivan, a selfish woman, had caused her parents, ex-husband, and 2 children to suffer psychological damage that could never be compensated for. Even her new boyfriend and child would be significantly affected by public opinion because of her selfish actions. If Wu Tuivan hadn't only thought of her own interests and done something foolish, then these regrettable events wouldn't have happened. And if her mother hadn't been so overprotective and made a rash decision that made everything worse, surely those innocent children wouldn't have been poisoned to say those cruel words. Surely, all these events would leave a significant psychological scar on the children's minds in the future.